Hello everyone, Sable here with the third and final match of UUCL this week. In this one we've got Maris Bonibell versus magialice. So Maris, one of the most experienced players in this pool, which feels weird to say since she started playing end of 2023. But we've got a lot of new players coming to RBY recently, and definitely like one of the easy consensus top picks in the pool. She's had a couple of 6-1 runs in UU recently, just generally a very strong UU player. I would say this is probably like the main tier that she's known for. Overall, very inventive builder, very willing to break the rules and bring weird stuff. So I think she's probably going to be one of the people who's the most at home in this new RBY UU meta, which is, as mentioned in the previous videos, totally new. We finally banned partial trapping, Slowbro is legal. So the only tournament with a metagame anything like this was the C plus tournament we hosted a while back. But even in that one, Jolteon was legal, and you can imagine that was quite the warping influence in the tier. So I'm expecting her to probably have the most creative teams of anyone during this tournament. Magialice, more known for other generations, as far as I understand, really good at black and white, good at things like ADV. RBY, definitely a bit of a newer thing for her, but I think she's picked it up pretty quickly, so I wouldn't count her out, but definitely one of the newer, less experienced players in the pool in terms of just RBY. So we're going to have to see how this goes, what she's coming up with, what her ideas in the builder are. But I'm not going to ramble too long, so let's just hop into game one and see what happens. And Maris proving me right away by bringing Tentacruel despite the ban on Wrap. So Tent's kind of in an interesting spot now. On the one hand, like, yes, you lose Wrap, which is by far the most valuable thing that it had going for it. On the other hand, you still have 120 special Surf Blizz. So it's kind of pressuring for the opponent to have to go to Lapras, to go to Slowbro, both of which obviously tank those moves just fine. The thing is, Tentacruel does have Swords Dance, but it doesn't have like Sludge Bomb or something of the like in Gen 1 to actually do decent damage off of that. So your best option is Double Edge or Hyper Beam. Double Edge in Gen 1 only 100 base power, so it's not very threatening. Like +2 Hyper Beam from Tentacruel does not even half to Lapras or Slowbro. But the thing is also, like, you're getting a free 50 or more on Lapras Slowbro, and because of Tentacruel's huge special, neither one can 2-hit KO it. So if you get like a free turn, a free setup, and then you hit them on top, it honestly isn't that bad. You can get them out of the way for something like an Articuno later, or just for your own Lapras or Slowbro to just not have any competition. So just from the Tentacruel lead, I'm immediately thinking that she's probably got something like that in the back. Like there's going to be an Articuno or something, some kind of way to take advantage of Tentacruel breaking open waters. I'd assume it's not for a Lapras, although like there's no reason not to run a Lapras. She very well could have one. But when I think of like waters that want other water or ice types that want water and ice types out of the way that Tentacruel baits in, I'm thinking Articuno and I'm thinking Slowbro. So we'll see. So Magialice right to Hypno, which is not the guy I necessarily want to hard send into Tentacruel. Maris not willing to make a predict on a water coming in right away, so just Hydro Pumps. I should probably mention Tent versus Dodrio, kind of a 50-50 because they're speed tied. Tent Blizzard comes up just short of OHKOing Dodrio, maxed out at 97. And Dodrio is actually slightly favored in that Body Slam Paralysis means it wins the matchup because Slam into Hyper Beam will KO. The problem is you have to risk Blizzard Freeze and Blizzard Crit, both of which also can immediately lose you the matchup. So here, going to Hypno first, I think I don't love that because you're switching into a Tentacruel. Even if it wasn't Hydro Pump, this would be scary. And now you're just behind. I kind of wonder if this Tentacruel just doesn't have Surf. Seems like it must not have Surf if she went for Hyper Beam because that's a crazy risk to take to just Hyper Beam there. But does bait in a Slowbro. On Alice's side, I'm kind of wondering if there's no Lapras because there is a Slowbro. I think it's pretty hard to run both, which is part of the reason I think this Tentacruel bait idea kind of works. Also, Tentacruel's not like terrible in the lead versus stuff like Electabuzz. ridiculously, somehow this 2-hit KOs Electabuzz, and Electabuzz doesn't 2-hit KO it back with Stab Thunderbolt. Make that make sense. So now, unfortunately, because of that Hyper Beam miss, and I mean, you want to miss it. That's actually ideal for her not hitting Hyper Beam into the Slowbro for like 20% and then getting T-Waved for free. But the thing is, now she's got to set up this Swords Dance Hyper Beam raw in front of Slowbro and eat the T-Wave right away. No T-Wave, but the special drop is good because then you get the 2-hit KO. So gonna take 47 on Slowbro. As mentioned, Tentacruel only has 70 attack. It's a little bit pathetic here, but still it's 50 on Slowbro, so that's pressure. So I think Maris's hope here is to use that immediate pressure. The free Hypno really is a gift. I think that Alice had no reason to give that up, and even Hard Slowbro into the Hydro Pump would have gotten a better outcome here than this. So Raichu of her own, but Maris makes the call out with T-Wave, very reasonable click. And now this is just looking bad. Make sure you T-Wave the Hypno on entry, but now, like, you can't get sleep. Maris can get sleep. Psychic is threatening to everything but Slowbro, and Slowbro can be put to sleep. Dodrio getting in on a Psychic. It's not 2-hit KO'd, so a lot of pressure. And Maris revealing her own Slowbro. So at this point with Tentacruel Slowbro, I'm going to say there is definitely not a Lapras on Maris's side. I'm thinking there's probably one physical attacker because it's pretty hard to run 0 physical attackers in this tier. And then last Pokemon will be something that gets enabled by this, like this baiting in the waters and removing them type deal. So maybe a Kuno. Kuno comes in, amnesiaing up. So Alice trying to get Hypno in to just get some damage with seismic tosses, but maybe gonna get punished for that depending. The para helps for sure, so this might neutralize the Slowbro without it really getting anything. Oh wow, with it literally getting nothing. Okay. So Hypno just comes in and murders an entire Slowbro, and there's the physical attacker as expected. I do wonder if the last will be like Kuno or just be like, it could just still be a Lapras. I don't think it will be, but we'll see. Dodrio Drill Peck's there because you don't want to get countered by Kangaskhan and it's barely a damage loss. I think, honestly, people clicking counter on Kang versus Dodrio is a little bit silly in general. I don't even feel like you really have to Drill Peck there, and it kind of gives some pivot chances. Like, I kind of wonder why people don't pivot Raichu or something a bit more, although it's paralyzed, so in this case, it's a lot more reasonable not to do it. But either way, gonna get a little damage on the Dodrio, but you're really just gonna lose a Kang here for that. Even without the crit Drill Peck, it was looking pretty tenuous, and now probably just gonna Hyper Beam this Lapras in the face. So Lapras and Slowbro for Magialice, so running all 3 of these guys is pretty slow. And now the main thing I think is just gonna be how Maris manages to play this Raichu, because Magialice is a Raichu that can switch into it a couple of times, but beyond that, Raichu kind of just obliterates the rest of this team, barring like a Dodrio speed tie win. Lapras should be just out of Raichu range, so I do kind of wonder if Alice might even stay. And I think Maris realizing that she can't quite go for it yet with Raichu, and Alice smartly going to Slowbro, because I think you can't take any damage on your other guys if you want to have a good answer to Raichu. Oh, but not Rest. I think that Rest is such a momentum killer. It's going to be really, really hard to ever wake that up. I think that she just needed to take her chances, click an attack, click T-Wave, like make a call out or something. But now this switching back and forth, I think, is going to favor Maris slowly turning this game around. Actually, I Hypno Rest of her own, so that's actually kind of really bad for Alice if this can ever wake, but it's hard. You have to like sit on the Dodrio, hope you don't get crit, and then T-Wave the Dodrio and do something from there. So it is a Kuno, and that early reveal doesn't bode very well because there's still half a Lapras here, which pretty good answer, but Kuno could like double edge it out. Nice double. Yeah, I think this Raichu is really the key to winning here. It's not so much like the Kuno at this point. It took too long to do anything, and Slowbro plus Lapras is really the worst case. Okay, that's cool. So this Raichu running Hyper Beam, which lets it knock out other electrics. I really like that idea from Maris. I think that's really smart here. So Probably still running Surf on this, but or maybe it's Slam Beam. But either way, it's kind of equipped to every time it gets in to chunk at the electrics a little bit on entry and then nuke them like this. Like that took this out from half. Minimum roll would have been 44. And now there's just nothing in this thing's way, especially like because it didn't get T-waved. And I understand like Slowbro calling out T-wave there would have been hard, but even if it had clicked like Psychic, if it had Surf or Seismic Toss as an attack, whatever, any damage on this would have gone a long way because Lapras is still not in Raichu range. So it could live one, you never know. But now she's just got to go for a speed tie and then she's got to go for like some Lapras BS. Like you can come in and click Sing here and hope you get lucky, but I don't think it's going to be enough at this point. And oof, now it's definitely not enough because now the Kuno is incredibly scary. Confuse Ray is definitely not it. Ooh, but rest on Lapras. Okay, so there's like a tiny chance, but really you can hit this down and one drop wins, forcing it to rest again and going back to Raichu wins. Not looking ideal. And Raichu ends, the Slowbro comes in to try to clear the drop. Slowbro deleted, and now this Raichu is going to clean up pretty handily. Yeah, Lapras doesn't have a chance here except for a 256 miss, and even then, like, you need to hit Sing on this and then somehow manage to stall out the Hypno. So yeah, that's gonna do it. In comes Hypno, and I'm pretty sure T-Bolt takes it out from here. But Hyper Beam to be safe is a little wacky, honestly, but I get it. You could lose if, like, somehow T-Bolt just missed by 1 HP and the Hypno just hit everything else on everything. So it's understandable, but game 1 goes to Maris. Interesting team. I like the idea, although it is very... Like, I don't think this kind of idea is going to persist as the meta develops, but I think this early doing stuff like this is just way too hard for people to have any kind of preparation or idea of what to go to against this team. I do think the idea is very coherent. I think her team building here, like the goal is very obvious and the whole team pushes toward that purpose very well. You've got just enough physical offense with Dodrio to put some pressure on the physical side. If you get stuck on the special side, like by Amnesia Slowbro, you really are betting a lot on this Hypno being maybe the one thing that has Hypnosis, if it even does. Knowing her, I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't even have it. She just decided to go for consistency. Raichu with Hyper Beam to pick off other electrics, which are going to be the most common check because Raichu doesn't really have to fear ground types very much except Dugtrio. This Tent baiting in the waters, Slowbro baiting in the waters, like a lot of stuff set up toward this Kuno, which didn't end up being the win con, but having the Raichu set up to also potentially win was cool. On Alice's side, I think just like this kind of shows the problem with running Lapras plus Slowbro. So much got put on the Hypno and Raichu to hold the fort against Maris's own Raichu and against stuff like Dodrio and Tentacruel because like if these two take damage, then Kuno's gonna win the game. So I think because of that, like there's just too much pressure that the two bulky physical guys can't actually absorb here without risking losing the game to Kuno. So I think it was a smart way for her to divide up Alice's resources and make that really hard to win. But anywho, let's get to game 2. Can't wait to see what kind of thing Maris is bringing here because I'm sure it's going to be funny. So Ninetales versus Dodrio. This is Ninetales favored because of Fire Blast 30% burn chance, as well as the fact that Slam Beam from Dodrio usually misses the rolls on Ninetales. Alice choosing to just stay in and fight it out, even though it's not favored. And I think that's part of the interesting thing with UU for the last couple of metagames. Fire types are really scary. Like, it's so hard to drop Lapras, and Lapras not ideal in the fire types. You can run Surf to 2-hit KO them, but like you can't really switch into Fire Blast. Hypno doesn't take Fire Blasts particularly well when they're stab. Kangaskhan takes them horribly. Persian doesn't take them very well. Dodrio doesn't take them well. Dugtrio can't take them on switch in. Kadabra doesn't fight any of the fires well because they've got pretty good special bulk, and they all have Slam Beam to take it out. Ninetales good against Haunter because it's faster and has Confuse Ray. Like, genuinely, fire types are weirdly good despite the fact that Slowbro is just dropped into the tier. I think Ninetales and Moltres especially are the relevant ones. Ninetales, pretty good at fighting all of the electric types. Probably Raichu's the hardest one, but even then, it's still like completely fine. Confuse Ray, as mentioned, just kind of wall-ups the Hypnosis clickers and makes them just have to click T-Wave or Get Out if they even have T-Wave because Haunter doesn't. Fire Blast hard to switch into. Moltres just does ridiculous damage. It is slower than Haunter, but other than that, like it's just ridiculous with agility and those 125 special Fire Blasts. So I think those two are the most relevant. I think Rapidash's speed outrunning Dodrio is kind of nice, but I wouldn't super trust it. And here Maris choosing not to go for Confuse Ray and try to screw with Hypnosis accuracy, just choosing to take some immediate damage. So I wonder what she's trying to enable here. Slowbro coming in, so good Hypno switch in. Even with the drop, it's not really that bad. T-Wave is still a nice big threat, and T-Wave landing on the Lapras is pretty bad for Alice here. And here comes a Raichu yet again, calling the T-Bolt and getting in for free, and now this sucks. Nidoking is interesting. Thunder, okay. So Thunder makes some sense. It 2-hit KOs Lapras, whereas T-Bolt comes up short. I think the main reason people don't really like it. There's three things about Thunder that I think are worth noting. One, in RBY, for some stupid reason, it only has a 10% para chance. I have no clue why this is the case when it is less accurate than Blizzard and Fire Blast by a lot, and Fire Blast had a 30% burn chance. And in the Japanese version, they gave Blizzard a 30% freeze chance. But Thunder, 10% para chance on a move with 70% accuracy for some godforsaken reason. The other thing is, like, besides the accuracy problem and the 10% to even para something, is just like the move slot is really valuable and you already have like a 20% chance to crit T-bolts anyway. So across two T-bolts on Lapras, you're getting 80% with like a 40% chance to crit it out of the game. So I think it's hard to justify dropping your accuracy by 30 and having to hit a 49% accurate across two hits move. Even if, yes, you have the chance to crit an Oko Lapras out of the game, which is ridiculous. You have a way higher chance to just miss and then end up behind. But despite not being willing to gamble on Confuse Ray, she's willing to gamble on Thunder, which I find really interesting. Now, Nidoking, not a Pokemon I expected to see here, but it actually is like the only ground type that's a half decent Raichu switch in because it's actually not 2-hit KO'd by Surf. Surf maxes out at 49% on it. So you get your one free entry by surprising the Raichu once, and then you still get one more later as long as you don't get crit. Dugtrio obviously takes like 75% plus from Surf, so pretty hard to switch in, and Paraslam is just so lethal for it. Golem gets one-shotted by Surf outright. So Nidoking, much weaker than the others, but it does have coverage moves, and it does actually tank Raichu better than the other two do. So in this case, going to get the Force out, and I do wonder if Alice... Okay, she didn't take a prediction chance, and there's a Moltres, so double fire Slowbro Raichu so far. Ridiculous amount of special offense on Maris's side. I'd expect her to shore that up with a little bit of support from some physical attackers. I do wonder if there's going to be like a Lapras and the physical attacker, or if it's going to be a Hypno and a physical attacker, or what. No sleep revealed, and I'm kind of wondering if she's going to just say sleep is too risky and not go for it. Again, despite clicking Thunder with Raichu, which is almost as likely to go wrong. So I kind of wonder where her head's at. These teams are really interesting, and I'm definitely like enjoying watching them, and I don't think they're like bad or too kooky and out there or whatever. But it's tricky. And Moltres, though, kind of showing like the ridiculousness of fire types here. What is Alice supposed to switch in? She's going to Lapras on a Moltres. It's taking a 3-hit KO from Fire Blast. You're just hoping it misses, because look at that damage. Like, this is a dead Lapras for free. Yeah, I think Moltres might rise to UU now. This thing is crazy. And like Kang comes in, Kangaskhan less likely to run Rock Slide in this meta because it really only hits Moltres and Articuno. It's a speed tie, and Moltres has burn chance. Look how much damage Fire Blast does. It's 62 to 73. Kang Rock Slide only a 2-hit KO if it even has it, and who knows if it does, and you can lose speed tie and get burned. No Rock Slide, so like Alice really just struggling for checks here into double fire and just hoping to get some luck. Like, okay, you get this KO. Kind of interested that Maris didn't click agility there. I feel like that was kind of free. But now, like, Moltres going to get another Fire Blast. This thing's just clicked 4 or 5 Fire Blasts this game. 4 of them, I guess. But, like, 4 Fire Blasts from Moltres is basically 2 KOs by itself. More here. Kang Articuno last. So nice call out on the Earthquake. I don't think Kuno's going to do that much here with an 84% slow bro. I think your best odds here are that you freeze this slow bro on entry or on the second hit, and after that, I'm not so sure you have anything. And Maris is already ahead, knows that she can just push this and make it a little bit less of a risk of getting frozen. So just push as much damage as she can right away and make it as hard as possible for the Articuno to get a game-winning freeze. Now, at this point, Raichu just comes in, T-bolts, Nidoking should be dead to most Surf Rolls here. Ooh, okay, it lives that. There's one chance. Not gonna happen. Okay. So at this point, it's just Hypno has to come in because Nidoking's probably KO'd. Oh, she's going for it. That's funny. So yeah, crit doesn't really matter. Minimum rolls 42, max is 49. It was pretty likely to KO regardless of that crit. And now probably you just T-wave this and trust that your last can beat it. Last plus slow, bro. Only case I can see going wrong here is if this is a rest Hypno, and the last here is like a Lapras, it could go wrong for Maris, but otherwise it should be fine. And it's Amnesia slow, bro, so it should be pretty hard to lose this. Yeah, if it wasn't Amnesia, I could see rest Hypno pulling it off, but without that, yeah, this is super over. So it is rest Hypno. If this wasn't Amnesia, if this was like Psychic plus Seismic Toss or something, there could have been chances, but I would say Amnesia Psychic Thunderwave Rest is probably pretty expected of a Slowbro in this current meta. Just Psychic is so stupid because of its 1/3 drop chance that you can run it as a mono attacking move and still break through stuff like Hypno, whereas Surf, you have a big Lapras problem. So here, Psychic already doing 53% because of the reapplication glitch with boosting. This Hypno is always going to be way slower than the Slowbro now. So Alice just has to get everything to win this. Like another drop, but like no matter how many drops you get, you're not doing enough damage here. Rest Hypno really can only afford 1 attack. And that's going to do it, 2-0 for Maris. So good job to her. Interesting teams. I'd love to know who the last guy was here. Like, I assume it's probably Hypno or Lapras. I doubt you would drop both of them just to run a Slowbro double fire team. But I feel like they're both valid brings here, and which one you bring kind of depends on how you're viewing the way that your pieces fit together to win this. On Alice's side, something interesting here, like I think the Nidoking Articuno concept is pretty similar to this like Golem Articuno concept that I was thinking about. The thing is, like, you're better against Raichu, of course, because Nidoking has a little more insulation into Raichu, but I think the damage loss from not having Golem's ridiculous Rock Slide, which does like almost 50 to Lapras, is pretty rough. Golem's just really forcing. Into a team like Double Fire Slowbro, Raichu, like everything you paralyze on this team is just dead to Golem. So I think you do lose out a lot for this Nidoking being here like this. I think you lose out a lot from not having any para besides the Hypno. Like I could see an idea like this working with Nidoking, but you definitely like need some support for those earthquakes. And I think Golem does that better just because the attack difference is so substantial and having Rock Slide with Stab is so substantial. Golem one-shots Moltres, Nidoking certainly does not. Does Golem one-shot Moltres? I want to say it does. I'm pretty sure it does. I know it one-shots Charizard, which obviously is way less bulky, but I'm pretty sure it even one-shots Moltres. So don't quote me on that. If not, it's like a 92 to 108 or some kind of roll like that. Golem hits really, really hard. Like that Pokemon's ridiculous. And on Maris's team, like with no Surf on Slowbro, most likely. It could be. It could be 2 attacks and no rest, but probably no Surf on Slowbro. Like every one of these things getting paralyzed is just Golem fodder, and there's only so much you can switch into Golem so many times after that. So I would have liked to see a Golem. I would have liked to see something with the T-Wave over this Kang or over this Kuno. I wonder even if maybe like Hypno, Slowbro, Labraslis, and then like a Raichu over this Kangaskhan maybe might have worked. But I don't know. I'm still speculating on a meta that's really early on. So it's hard to say. Either way, I think Maris teams were very coherent, had really good ideas behind them. But I also think everyone who doesn't play RBY UU or is newer to it is going to say, what the hell is she doing? And be very confused by them, which kind of is ideal if you're playing against those people in this tournament. If your opponent is saying, what the hell is this? And has no idea what your next Pokemon is going to be, it's pretty good. So good start to her. 1-0 start off. As for Alice, hope she can bounce back next week. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you have any thoughts, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you like giving me dopamine, click the like or subscribe buttons. If you want to see the videos, you should also probably click the subscribe button so that these get recommended to you. But either way, I will see you in the next one.